welcome back to the Deep Cut Cheese podcast. This is episode 3. I'm Josh. I'm here with my bro Kyle, and we're gonna roll into this third episode hot. That music was good. I liked it anyways.
That music is aggressive and reminds me of a certain genre of music that it's not really where our podcast is going. But anyway,
Well, I don't know where you're going with that, but I like it. I like the deep cut. We went straight into a deep cut. So thanks for pulling that out. Hey, so we're back. It's been a week since our last podcast. What do you? Let me just jump right in. What do you think of our second episode, Kyle?
we talked way too much about way too much stuff. Good overall, great stuff in there, but man, it was pretty thick, as the kids say.
Yeah, I thought so too. We had some good parts, but we just tried to cover too much. And so, as we try to figure this out, teammates out there, we're gonna change it up a little bit and just try to get a little more conversational and see how that goes. I did hear somewhere that it takes 40 podcasts before you really figure this out. And we've now adjusted to 54 podcasts that we're going to do. We'll tell you about that a little later. But so we'll have a good 14 once we figure all this stuff out. So it's been. Oh, do you have something, Dad?
Did you say 40, 40, or 14?
Oh, I thought it was 40. Yeah, I've heard 40.
Yeah, that's like a year. That's almost a year of this one. Better part of a year, once a week.
Yeah, I mean, what would Malcolm Gladwell say? 10,000 hours, and we're shooting for 40, so we're almost there. I mean, it's close.
Yeah, we get along.
We'll be masters of this at 40 hours. We don't need that 9,960 other hours to go. I think we'll figure it out. Yeah, so it's been a week, Kyle. So what's happened? What's happened for you this last week?
Oh man, just the huge hashtag Southeast Houston life. Another week in the books out at Hobby Airport. Not fun. I highly recommend retirement. Not going back to work after you took basically a year off, because it's the worst. Yeah, man, everything's good. Most importantly, my dog is doing good, and she's laying here, so
Oh, good. For our fans out there, he is a Labradoodle, right?
Yeah. Lily, she's little Labradoodle.
Yeah. So we have a pug, May, and yeah, she's pretty much she's the princess of our house. So for me, this week's been pretty busy. Joyce had to take off and fly back to Michigan to deal with some family stuff, some sad stuff. So not really going to get onto it in here, but so it's just me and the boys now. So I'm holding it down. It's a man's house. That means the dishes haven't been done in 24 hours, but we'll get them done tonight, baby. Don't worry about it.
Order pizza, homie. Order pizza. That's the key.
Paper plates, baby.
Paper plates.
I'm still on the Orange Theory. I send it to you in the morning, and as a flex. Have you picked that up yet?
Yeah. So honestly, your morning text, "Hey, I've already done my workout," is super motivating. Yesterday I did not want to work out. I got on the Peloton. I half-assed it for 20 minutes. I burned like 60 calories just so I would have something to text back and say, "Oh, I worked out too." And you sent me one this morning at 6 a.m. I mean, I hadn't even woke up yet. And I was just like, what? And now I still haven't worked out. I've been at work all day, so I'm going to go get on that Peloton. And as soon as this is over.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it's, the reason it was so early, I had to take Joyce to the airport at 3 a.m. this morning. So I hit the 5 a.m. class. And it's so interesting. Like, I'm exhausted. You run, you row, and you do some weights. And I was probably dogging it a little bit in the weight section. Like, I was exhausted. I got probably 3 hours of sleep last night. And I had already hit my splat points for the day. If for any of you people out there, all you got to get 12 splat points. That's what you're looking for that epoch, whatever. It's keeps your heart rate up for 36 hours or something like that. After
Is
effect.
that like ergo epoch? Remember the ergo bike tests in the Air Force when we were airmen?
The ergo. I have not thought about the ergo test in a long time. What do you think of the ergo test?
I remember when I was an A1C and I got a lot of like really deep cut wisdom laid on me by a senior airman. He's like, Bake, when you go in, but before you go in, just smoke this Marlboro Red. And I didn't even smoke then. Smoke this Marlboro Red, your heart rate will be through the roof. That'll be your baseline. And that way, when you're cycling, your body will calm down, but your heart rate will be high. There was some kind of weird like barracks science involved in there. But oh yeah, man, I used to pound down a freaking Marlboro Red, Dr Pepper, and then roll in there and ergo it up.
And pass, right?
Oh yeah, killed
Oh,
it.
the good old days when you could just roll in there, right? Like, no,
90th percentile.
I would see people smoking cigarettes outside. The Hawk, right? The Health and
Yeah, the
Wellness.
hawk. Yeah, we were at the same base when that was happening.
Oh yeah, Luke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They would stand out there just smoking, and hell, I think the person watching the ergo was probably out there smoking with them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, smoke down this cigarette before you go in here. Guaranteed pass.
Yeah. Hot box this baby. Oh man, that's
Uh,
guaranteed raw throat coming out of there too. And we had weigh-ins at that same place. Um, the weigh-ins back in the day, they would call us out, and they would have everybody had to filter through, and as long as you were below a certain weight, you were good. And I remember when I was skinny and pretty, I would walk in there and they would just be like, "Get out of here, you're good." They wouldn't even weigh me. But if you were like staff sergeant, you know, my current body type, they were like, "Line up, son."
oh man, I'm gonna reach this out. I'm not gonna call this person out because their name just popped into my head. So do you remember, like, if you were overweight, you're over your BMI or whatever the weight was, like they had the little scale. Uh, One of the ways you could get around it. Actually, I have two stories. One of the ways you could get around it was if you did the neck and waist measurement, right? Yeah. Well, one of the stories, we had a pretty big NCO, and I saw him one time before he went into the weigh-in. He was punching his neck. Oh, for everyone on the podcast, I was punching my neck there, and he was trying to swell it up so that he could, because it was
Bro looked like a pelican walking in there.
oh man, what you would do to pass the weight back then. But yeah, he was
Funny.
punching his neck so that it would swell up, so it would be in correct proportion because he had a big waist, so he needed a big neck, right?
Yeah.
And then this other guy I know, man, all the stuff we did this when we were airmen. He was a bigger guy, and he asked, "Hey, can you measure my waist over my shirt?" And they're like, "No, man, we need you to take your shirt up." And he had he had duct taped his waist, like, I mean, just as tight as he could get it around.
Respect.
Oh man, I haven't thought about the ergo and those weight measurements in a long time.
Yeah, so a dear friend of mine, she figured out the science behind the female tape. She would go to a spa and she would get like the saran wrap, like ultra hot herbal, like body squeezer, and she would do that the day before. She'd roll in, she'd get taped, and she would ace it. Um, all the other time, she was just pounding Yinglings like they were, Diamond Springs water, some Dasanis. But yeah,
Hydrating.
yeah, oh yeah, she had it nailed too.
That's hilarious. Man, the things we used to do as young airmen to pass. Um, but I mean, that's even now. Even I think the actual fit test is going through a overhaul now.
It is, yeah, it's going through a bit of a revamp. I don't know enough about it to say all the words, but I believe they're making it. more functional.
Yeah. Well, I know they're doing that specifically for like, TAC-Ps and EOD and all those kind of things. So, hey, do you have any good stories from a PT test?
Yeah, so the worst one that I ever did, I'd gotten some more great barracks advice. I think I was a staff sergeant though, so I should have known better. I was out of the barracks, and but somebody was like, "Hey, if you really want to pass your waist measurement, it's like the very beginning of waist measurement. If you really want to pass your waist measurement, the key is to get drunk the night before." And this is before my hangovers were like, I don't really. Hangovers are a reason enough for me not to drink that much anymore because I'm old and feeble. But back then I was like, oh, just get drunk, and they were like, nah, man, you gotta get really drunk. And I was like, why? And they were like, because alcohol. Here's some more science. Alcohol is a diuretic, and so the more or antidiuretic. I'm not again. I'm not a full on
Hashtag
scientist.
science. I love it.
So the more you drink, the more water you expel and you become dehydrated. And the more dehydrated you are, the tighter your body becomes. And that all made perfect sense to me. But what had happened was when I got to that uh, PT test the next day, I felt pretty horrible and definitely passed the waist, but I don't know if it was because of the, you know, alcohol I drank the night before. Not recommending this any young airmen listening, but holy moly, the run! I paid the ultimate, the ultimate price on the run, where it was just, just everything horrible you can imagine happening to you when you're hungover and running a mile and a half.
Man, that's brutal. The things that we did to ourselves.
Yeah, how
Um,
about how about you? Any?
well, I was thinking as I asked you that, but as far as PT tests, I've definitely had people vomit as they were crossing over the finish line, or like run off to the side to vomit. Because so I could run
Yeah,
really.
you're a runner. You're a gazelle. You're a natural runner.
Yeah. So my fastest PT test ever was like 8:23. So I ran below 8:30 multiple times, but 8:23 is my fastest, right? And so yeah, it's a little over a 5-minute mile. That was when I was younger, but and so I'd be out there knowing that I'm gonna run a 5:15 mile, and like the guy in high tops would would sprint out past me. You know what I mean? Like
Dude's got his Jordans on, not laced so they won't crease.
that's exactly right. And I'm always like, "Are you sure you want to be going this fast, man?" Because I prepared for it, and I knew exactly how fast I needed to run each lap. And I'm like, "You're going to pay for it on these. It's 6 laps. Those last 2 laps, I don't know if you're going to make it, right?" And but they'd always sprint out in front of me. But one of my favorite stories with the PT is, um,
It's gotta
so
be black socks.
oh yes, just let me tell this story. This is my favorite story. Hashtag black socks. That's going on the website. So I love this story. I'm probably building it up too much, but this was when the PT uniform was brand new, and I was teaching field training at Nellis in Las Vegas. And field training is for all the maintainers out there, they know what it is, but it's you kind of get the basics at the tech school, and then when you get to your base, they have what they call field training, which is specific for certain aircraft. And some crew chiefs, like they do the MRT, mission ready technician kind of training, but for a lot of back shoppers, they get the specific training at that base. So, like, you might learn the generals of aircraft and then learn the F-16 at Luke, or the F-35 at Luke. And so I was an FTD instructor, and so I was teaching with a bunch of maintainers, and our uniforms, we could wear whatever we wanted for a while to work out, and then they created the PT uniform, and everyone hated it. Right? It was like cardboard. The very first PT uniform felt like you were wearing, I mean, like literally a box around your hips. It was terrible. Anyways, the only thing you could wear was white socks. And so we're doing unit PT. We all hated it. It's Wednesday morning at like 6 in the morning, and we're sitting out there. No one wants to be there, and there's this guy running around the track there at Nellis as we're stretching and warming up and doing our push-ups and sit-ups, and he's wearing black socks. So all these passive aggressive maintainers, as he ran by, they'd be like, "Black socks!" To let him know that we know that you're wearing black socks, man. So this happened like 2 or 3 times. Every time, "Black socks!" I mean, that's just what they would scream. And you could see he was getting irritated. But we were in a group now, and so like you have a lot of passion.
Mob mentality.
Yeah, you have a lot of passion when you're in the group. Black socks. And so we get up onto the track, and someone says, "Make a hole," so this guy can run through. As we're at the starting line, and someone goes again, "Black socks," and he had the officer vibe on him. I'm just gonna say that. He turned around and he yelled. He's like, "These socks are prescribed by my doctor to prevent blood clots." And immediately from the back of the group, someone went, "Blood clots!" And everyone laughed in every direction. The people standing on the outside, because there was
I'm still laughing.
there was no empathy given to this guy. He could have said like whatever the worst thing in the world was, and they would have made a joke about it. And he just bowed his head and walked away. And that is maintainer humor at its finest, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
there will be no quarter given here, so don't even try to play on anyone's empathy or sensitive heart kind of thing. At least that's not what I've saw in any AMU I've ever walked in.
No, that's brutal and also hilarious. I knew that was a story you were going to say about PT. It's one of my favorites. I always try and play it off like it's my story, but I don't do it with the same, goodness.
It's the nasally voice. Oh man, black socks. I just uh, I think I know who said it. I'm not going to call him out, but just to have the wherewithal to be able to turn black socks into blood clots. Um, Gosh, man, people are so funny. That's why I like the comments on Reddit or Imager or whatever. The comments, man, that's where you find the humor, right? Like people.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I only do TikTok. It's my only form of social media anymore. And that number one comment with the most likes, 9 times out of 10 makes me lol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, how did we get diverted onto ergo and PT?
I don't know. We're just vibing.
Vibing.
Well, no, we were working out. We're talking about how we're sending each other our workout stuff. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, to finish that story, so I had to drop Joyce off at 3 a.m. this morning to get her flight out, or maybe it was 4. We had to get up at 3. And so I go into the Orange Theory this morning at 5, and the great coach, the very first coach I had there, her name's Julie. I was doing the run-in portion. I got my splat points knocked out, and I was dogging it in the work or the weightlifting area. And yeah. So I'm teaching at Rice. I'm teaching a course on how do you dial down these signals that let people know that you don't want feedback. So how do you, and we call them red arrow behaviors. So how do you turn those behaviors down? And they're as easy as red arrow behavior. We talked about it last week. Is as easy as looking at your phone when someone's talking to you, but negative body language. Anyways, this instructor looks at me. I'm teaching this course, and I know that she has some words for me, but I'm exhausted, and I don't really want to hear it. So I turn my back. I know that she wanted to come over and give me some, like, "Hey, you need to keep your back straight," or what I really was worried was like, "Hey, you need to go a little harder here. You're kind of dogging it out." But I turned my back. I gave her a big red arrow behavior, and
big time.
yeah, I don't want to hear what you have to say. So, Julie, if you're listening to this, probably not. I apologize. I'll apologize to you next time I see you.
Yeah.
So that was my morning.
Yeah, that's the beauty about Peloton. We don't have, I guess there are instructors, but I only do the scenic rides. It's where you're racing like anywhere from 50 to 300 sometimes other people down a road, kind of like a Tour de France stage. And
Yeah.
so, as long as I'm in the top 10 or top 25 when it's a really big field, I'm pretty stoked. But man, no one's looking at me.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you only burn like 12 calories whenever you do it.
Yeah, I put on my shortest shorts, some flip flops, and I go get it done on the Peloton.
But at least you're safe, right? Like
Oh
you're
yeah,
not getting ran over by a car.
no, no.
Yeah. So, what else happened this week, or what else do you want to get into?
I don't know. Let's do I've been waiting to talk to you, and we just haven't had a chance to. I want to talk to you about this Ukraine versus U.S. Rocky Four type setup. I know it's a current event. We haven't done one of these, but that's where I'm kind of like. I've been
Yeah,
waiting to get your opinion on that.
that's
And
a good
really, what
brand,
I want to
Rocky
know
Four.
is, yeah, what I want to know is, when Uncle Sam comes a calling, now that you retired, you going back to the show?
No, that's not happened. I was I was actually thinking about that. It was either today or yesterday because I was watching CNN and they're just it's imminent. That Russia's going to invade Ukraine, and I was thinking like if they called me back, what would I do? And um, I got up at 3 a.m. this morning, and it is now 6:50 in the evening. I'm done. I am exhausted. That was one day. One day. I remember being deployed and sleeping on like a concrete floor for what felt like weeks and being like, all right, got to get up and do this. I would die. I would literally, I wouldn't wake up. That's what would happen to me.
Yeah,
So,
I'm way too lazy, I think. Coming up, I'm 3.5 years removed from the Air Force, from all that blue juice. So I just don't. I don't think I can, man. So, but I do think that there are a lot of other super awesome, amazing people who are going to step up if it ever pops off. But,
yeah.
bruh, if they call me, I'm just going to be like, man, I'm really into THC and meth.
Meth, huh? You're really going off the deep end.
I don't know. I think meth sounds scary. So they're like, oh, meth.
Well, I want to get back to this, but I have a good story about meth. Uh, this
No.
is this is a little naivete from myself.
Mhm.
So I was young supervisor, and one of my troops was pretty good guy, but he was overweight. And I worked swing shift, he worked day shift. You know how it is. You're a young staff sergeant, like you have troops, you want to take care of them, but they're on different shifts and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, uh, just working hard on swing shift, and one of the mass sergeants comes up in the shop and is like, "Hey, have you talked to Airman so and so?" And this is as I have like an injection seat on my back. Like, no, I haven't talked to him. I'm working, right? Like, and they're like, he's lost like 50 pounds in the last month. And I was like, well, he did tell me he was working out. And they're like, 50 pounds? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. And so I go up to him, uh, and I'm like, hey, bro, what's up? And he's like, hey, Sergeant Hurt, how you doing? It's a really good day. What's going on? What do you need? What can I get for you? And I'm like, you all right, man? And he's like, yeah. I, I've been on the energy drinks. I got a lot of energy going on. And I'm like, oh, okay. Believed him. So my master sergeant supervisor, like I had no idea about speed or anything, right? Like I hadn't been paying attention to that part in supervisor class, and I was never around it. So the master sergeant, they got a mandatory drug test done on him, and so I had to. I guess I guess I lied about DDR. I did have to go watch someone one time. I had to go watch this airman pee one time. And so we're over there, and he can't go, and he's got to go out to the smoke pit to pee, or he's got to go out to the smoke pit to take a smoke break before he could pee or whatever. And he's standing out there, and I'm like, "Are you on meth, man?" He's like, "Nope." I mean, just dead eyed, right in the face, and I'm like, okay. I guess it came back like he was 3 sheets to the wind when he was peeing, right? Like he was on meth at that very moment,
Oh yeah,
and
rolling.
rolling. I mean, like he got more things done in that shop than 6 airmen combined.
I saw an
So
NCIS episode like that. Old Gunny had his dudes running cable crew on the aircraft carrier all on meth.
yeah, yeah,
R.I.P. Gunny.
yeah. I never really watched NCIS, but maybe you shouldn't say meth. Maybe they'll want you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll dial it back. The only weird drug thing that I had, like as I was an older guy, this is when I was a chief actually. Um, one of my guys was like on fire. You know what I mean? Like making things happen. And his section chief said, "Hey, I think my guy is like on something," because he got to see him every day. Yeah, and they swept him, and they were like, sure enough, he was coke, and you just can see this kid at work. You know, I can just see him like in the bathroom, like or whatever they do. Is this how you do it? Or he snorted? I don't know. I never did it.
uh, from what I tell in the movies, like, or It's Always Sunny, they rubbed it on their gums, like you got to gum it or something like that. They called it.
Oh,
I have no
Always
idea.
Sunny. I got all my drug references from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Well, they have been on crack and they have used cocaine. I don't know about the weed yet, but
Mhm.
yeah. So back to the Ukraine and Russia, just to keep us on that. What have you been deployed in? Like, hey, you got to go 10 hours, 72 hours. You ever done one of those kind of deployments?
No, I always had a pretty good amount of time to prepare. I never was no noticed. Um, I was de- deployed to one place in Afghanistan, and then right in the middle, with about a week's notice, they were like, "Hey, we're moving you guys to
Yeah.
another place in Afghanistan," and so that was weird to deploy and
The
then
Kabul
to
Kandahar swap kind of thing.
yeah. So it was that it was Kandahar to Bagram,
Oh, Bagram.
and
That's what I meant. Yeah.
man, I get people used to love Kandahar. They're like, "Oh, it's so nice. It's got the boardwalk, and you got the British. They had the British chow hall there. Like you go in there and you can eat like pig's feet or whatever British people eat, and feta cheese and beans. I'm not sure exactly what they get down on, but
Yeah.
I do. When we went to Bagram, my quality of life went up like you would not believe. I had my own room in an actual like building, and the barbecue chow hall was right next to my building, and
Mm.
it was like these old 70-year-old Afghani dudes just slaying some ribs and brisket every day. It was man, it was pretty epic. Air Force deployment for show. It was not.
Air Force deployment. Yeah. Oh, I never made it to Bagram. I was in Kandahar. Did you? Was there a lot of rocket attacks at Bagram?
At Bagram, yes, we
Yeah.
at Kandahar, I don't remember us going under attack at all, but at
Yeah.
Bagram, we
We definitely
definitely.
under
Pardon?
all the time. We went under a rocket attack all the time. Yeah, it was nuts. So, but I think we were there. Uh, is it Ramadan? And then right after Ramadan, like just it went nuts. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, that's what it was. The only I did have like a 3 day notice. Operation Allied Force, Slamadan Milosevic.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, when he did his whole ethnic cleansing. Yeah, so we deployed to backfill Spangdahlem because they went forward, and so I had like a 100 day, 120 day TDY to the middle of Germany, Spangdahlem. What was great about that, so that would definitely, yeah, Crimea River, is also my wife had a 3 day notice deployment to what was the base south of Spangdahlem, the big one?
Ramstein.
Ramstein. Yeah. So she backfilled their team that went forward, into Kosovo. So it was pretty sweet because we had been married maybe 10 months when we got there. We had been separated a bunch from different TDYs. And so we spent our first wedding anniversary in Paris.
Yeah, I
Uh,
knew you were gonna. I knew it was gonna be something like, "I always said I'd take you to Paris." Thanks, Air Force.
yeah, yeah. But we were dirt poor living off credit cards, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, when I got back and like we had like $15,000 in debt in credit cards because it's like YOLO, right? Like we'll never be back. So let's spend everything. And we had a great time, but yeah, the deployment cost definitely outweighed. But yeah, that was so. Is that really a deployment in less than 72 hours? I mean, it could have been. We could have went forward to Kosovo. We just didn't. We
Yeah.
backfilled the team that went. So yeah, I as far as what's your take on what's going on with Putin?
I don't know, man. Since I've been out, my whole my whole opinion on everything has changed, right? So I'm more of a nah, bring all the boys back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
right.
but because now my kids are getting to that age where, my daughter's 19 and my son's going to be 16 here in a few weeks, and they might say, oh, I think I might like to do what Dad did, but I'm like, nah, man, I don't want them to do that. I definitely don't want them to have to go down range, and so I'm like, nah, bring all the boys back. Let their little Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think that them Ukrainian boys can handle that Ukrainian business. So I get it. I understand. I'm not, everybody's got an opinion. That's just mine. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to have any kind of educated opinion. I There's a lot of layers going on there, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure.
yeah. So, and I probably know one layer deep, and there's probably 15 layers of bad actors, false flag kind of
Oh yeah, for
things
sure.
that are going on, and all that kind of nonsense. And what's the geopolitical play that's going on? But as airmen and things, eh, it's funny. Like on the O side, like they get trained in that stuff for a long time, and then towards the end of our careers, we get a little more of that.
Yeah.
But it's like the 101 class at the Senior NCO Academy that you take 1 hour. Hey, now you guys are strategic geopolitical allies to help your commanders as they try to put the mission forward, and we're just trying to get our airmen to show up with pants on.
Yeah, and really that's a solid lesson to learn, right?
Yep.
So the O's, the strategic O's, right? The guys who are really involved in that kind of strategy and they work with, our civilian leaders, they do have a lot of training in that and they really do know. So when it comes to you and you're downrange, you're able to focus and lead in your little in your I say little, but it's not little, it feels huge, in your capacity. Did you ever, when you were downrange, do you feel like you did anything different? Did you lead in a different way?
Um, yeah. So when we were in Afghanistan, definitely, right? Because um, when I was in Kandahar, like the rocket attacks were real, and then there was like times when like bad terrorists or whatever bad actors got on base, and like we locked down. We had men. We had like 18-year-olds with an M16 that they shot like 3 times, guarding the entrance to the flight line, and I was so worried that they were going to shoot someone that wasn't a bad actor or whatever. And that you know for all that we talk about, like how well trained we are as maintainers in what we do, like some of that stuff, it is like just go on the flow, you know what I mean? Like figure it out as you go. Try not to kill anyone unless they need to be killed, I guess.
Right.
um, so that was kind of a weird leadership, that whole I'm sure this is, if anyone's army listening to this, they're like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" But like, that's just not what how maintainers, unless you're in the spec ops world or something like that, are really trained. Or the Raven, the security forces kind of teams. Did you felt like you led differently downrange?
No, I feel like it was easier to lead or easier to be at work when you're geographically separated from families and like stuff people like. So everybody's already typically pretty focused on the
Yeah,
what and why they're there. Um, Mama is typically only a phone call away, and the kids, so they can Skype or FaceTime or however that works. But generally, for those hours a day that they're committed to the mission, they're super committed to the mission, and I felt like it was way more. You would say, "Hey, I need some guys," and some guys would be like, "Hey, I'm gonna do that." It was more like people are like begging for stuff to do. And I was in Iraq and Afghanistan, and even in Korea to a lesser extent. I was there 3 times for remote tours, and there's a lot of people work a lot and make things happen that it's hard to really make it happen at the speed we make it happen with all that manning in those places.
yeah, I agree with you, especially like deployed downrange. Korea is a little different of a beast, right? It's still kind of the same thing, but you work Monday through Friday, right? Like,
Right.
so it's you get like these full weekends where when you're deployed, it's the 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. That one day to do the laundry or whatever. So definitely, um, what I saw in Korea is a little more, idle hands is the devil's work, a little bit going on there
Oh
on the
yeah,
weekend.
I get that.
So, but yeah, but I love Korea, but downrange, absolutely, people are more focused, but the stakes are higher, right? This literally, people have loaded weapons, guarding planes, and there's, I remember this one time. It was this is when I saw it was real. A rocket attack happened, and it kind of flew across the airfield, and some shrapnel hit a place, and um, they reported minor injuries. And the next day, I found out that minor injury was a guy lost his leg, and that became real for me. Like, a minor injury is that he lost his leg, and they're like, "Yeah, he didn't die," and I was like, all right, this is a different world, right? Like, that's not a minor injury, right? That would be like if some guys in your unit one day, just locksing up the aircraft, and the next day he loses his leg. Like, you're standing down for a little bit to do some safety. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna rock. Right. And but with downrange, like, that person was sent home, and God bless him. I hope he's doing well. But yeah, that's a minor injury, so like the stakes are much higher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
remember any
remember.
specific people that I worked around in either when I was in Afghanistan of anyone getting like hurt. What I how I feel in a way that some of the army and some of the Marines and definitely the Navy. I'm not even gonna get in the Navy, but how the Army and the Navy are good when they have these little posts. They can move those posts, or if they're camped out somewhere, or they can move that camp, and typically they do. The thing about the Air Force is we're so stuck to that
Hmm.
runway and that infrastructure that, if we're there longer than 3 or 4 months, those dudes know how to tilt their mortar little
Yeah.
things to shoot and hit exactly where they want to hit, or they know what time of day doing shift change. Pop, pop, shoot off a couple rockets and see if they can scare some nerds like me into huddling up behind a bunker. So I mean, it's like we can't go anywhere. I mean, the airplanes are, what they are. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they're the strategic weapon, right?
yeah,
And uh, just about that, like, I had a friend who was in Iraq, and I can't remember which base they were at, but they were launching mortars. Anyways, he was at work, and um, he came home from work after a mortar attack, and a piece of shrapnel had flown through the side of his room, through his pillow, where his head was. And so if it was a different shift, like he always talked about that. He's like, I wouldn't be here because that piece of shrapnel would have went right through my head. And so that's real. Like that, to your point, like it's real. So whatever whatever happens with Russia and the Ukraine, like I do kind of feel like you do. Like I'm done with this. Like we're in the 21st century. Like how do we figure this out without lobbing rockets at young men and women? You know what I mean? It's not old cats. It's young men and women. Don't get me wrong. Like we're not there in our world, and so we need the defense side. We need the deterrent. But how can we figure this out? Like, and people with PhDs study even just a little piece of that kind of question. So it's a much bigger topic than we're going to get into on this podcast for sure.
Oh yeah, we definitely ain't solving it. I was just saying that if I get the call, I'm on meth.
I'm getting blood clots,
That's
baby.
yeah. I got blood clots and I'm on meth. Hey, I was proud to serve. I did it for 23 years. Super stoked and proud of my service. But
Yeah, I'll build you up when you were towards the end of getting out, like you're getting ready to retire. And OKJU in North Korea was doing his thing, and DM was kind of spinning up, getting ready. I'm the group chief. We went up to Nellis to practice I mean, at Red Flag, we were donning Kim gear to get ready to do what we needed to do. Um, I remember talking to you about it, and I'm like, I know you're retiring, but what do you think? He's like, this is Kyle. I'm in, man. If we're going to go take that guy out, I'm in. And I mean, you're like 30 days from getting out. But nothing
yeah,
happened from it. But you
yeah, I
you
was
were ready.
pretty determined to pull my retirement paperwork. I'd already talked to everybody that I needed to talk to. That if it popped off, I was gonna go close it out. Right? I mean, I'd been to Korea 3 times, and
Yeah,
if there was gonna be a dang ultimate regime change, I wanted to be in it. But also, I was I was ready. I was hungry. I was skinny. I wasn't on meth. I didn't have blood clots. I was pumped.
yeah. Now that after this podcast, maybe I need to change my mind because like those were some good times. Like just being part of that team that would go do something like a higher purpose. Uh, yeah, I had a lot of you know there's a lot of scars and a lot of things from those kind of things, but I also I met some really good people and we did some really amazing things. So and I
Yeah.
don't know if the stakes will ever be as high as they were when we were doing those kind of things.
Nah,
So
man, that was what it was all about. Really, was the team. Um, I mean, it. I've never been in the Super Bowl. I've never been at the World Series or the championships for the NBA. But man, I just feel like that was it for. That was what it must feel like when you have so much, like everything on the line. You're focused on one specific thing.
yeah, you gotta get
It's
those
pretty
lines up.
amazing.
Yeah. And when I was over there, like, and these army guys and all kinds of people would come out to the flight line and be like, "This jet right here saved my life. Saved my life. If it wasn't for this thing, I'd be dead." And yeah, that was definitely a good feeling for sure.
Yeah, I remember one time specifically, we had some army guys come out to the A10, and they were like, "Yeah, man," big old dip in. "Yeah, man, this dang old jet here saved my life. Blew up some stuff." And he was funny. He was a really funny guy. And anyway, we went back towards the building. This is going to get off topic just a little bit, but he had used some Purell on his hands because he was touching the airplane. He got some like gun grease on him or some gun debris, as they say. on him. And anyway, we walk to the smoke pit. This dude lights a cigarette, and his whole hand catches on fire. This army dude, he takes his hand, he sticks it in his armpit, puts it out, starts smoking like nothing happened. And I was like, I want to know how many times this dude has lit himself on fire. Hashtag go army. To where it didn't even phase him. That's army. They're hard.
He didn't have any more feeling in his hand because he's probably on meth. Oh my goodness! And I'm just teasing. He wasn't on meth, but he did catch his hand on fire. So I'll have to figure out a hashtag for that one. All right. So we're about hitting this time. Let me grab something real quick. So we said earlier that, if you listen to the earlier two podcasts, we were going to do 52, and the reason we were gonna do 52 is because of something. Yeah, I think you can see it, and for the people on the podcast that couldn't see that, I have a jersey that I had made in Korea that has 52 names on it. Because when you're in Kunsan, you wear jerseys. They like represent your tribe, and you get all kinds of decorations put on it. Like Kyle has one that says enlisted or Flightline Jesus, right? Like because that's kind of his call sign. And what were some other like patches you had on yours?
I had the Beverly Blizzard from the huge blizzard we had that one year, an A10, an F16. I
Yeah,
had
right. The catching
99 was
crew.
my number because
Yeah.
of Houston JJ Watt hashtag. He's a Cardinal now, but yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of decorate it out to who you are, and I was having a hard time. I couldn't figure it out, but one of the things I did as the chief of the squadron is we would do honor push-ups for a different person, a fallen comrade. We do them every week, and so someone said you should put those people on your jersey. So that's what I did. I have an aunt that's embroiders, and I sent her a list of 52 names, my jersey with the dates. And so one of the reasons we're going to do 52 podcasts was to remember these 52 people. So once a week. And so I'll start off the first one. So these were actually Kyle's heard this one because I shared about this person at my retirement ceremony not too long ago. But Major Philip Ambard. So he was actually killed in Afghanistan, part of the NATAC 9 on 27 April 2011. And so a little bit about Major Ambard is first generation American. He actually came here from Venezuela at 9. And I always think about him like he answered a call because he learned English watching daytime soaps. He then enlisted in the Air Force, got his degree, and became an officer. He ended up teaching at the Air Force Academy. At that time, he spoke 6 languages. And just from the person that I know that knows him or that knew him, he was just an amazing guy. And my friend is actually, he thinks he's still alive because of some decisions that Major Ambard made. And so his story really stuck with me. So Major Ambard was one of the people that we honored when I was in Kunsan in that year. And I still honor him a lot of ways because he believed in this country. He believed in the opportunities that were provided for him, and he took advantage of it. And so, so how we're going to close out some of these, or at least these sessions, is just by remembering, someone that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and he's one of those. So, Major Philip Ambard. So, you have any closing words, Kyle?
Yeah, if my mom ever hears this, Mom, I'm not on meth and I don't have blood clots. I'm still a good boy. That's all I have.
I don't know if she'll believe you. I mean, I don't know. So I don't really have any words. We love y'all. We want to be value added. So hopefully we gave you some deep cut nuggets in there. You're gonna have to find them out. I'll re-listen to this and put some hashtags out there. But just as a recap, hashtag ergo waist measurement. What else did I got here? I got hashtag science. Oh, black socks and blood clots. Vibing, meth, pig's feet. These are all from Kyle, by the way. Kandahar, Bagram, focused. We'll definitely get an Ambard in there. Any other hashtags you got, Kyle, as we sign off here?
No, just respect all the Brits.
Yeah,
I just assume that they ate pig's feet, so that comes from my heart.
blood pudding is what I know. Every time someone shows me a Brit breakfast, it says blood pudding, and I'm completely turned off. So I've never tried it, so who knows? It might be the most delicious thing ever, but it looks disgusting. So with that, we'll wrap it up on a high note. We appreciate y'all. I'm put the music on so Jace can cringe out, and we'll see you next time. This was Deep Cut Chiefs, episode 3.